Let's do an example of the third situation when we might need to use a memo, which was establishing a double entry accounting system for an existing business. So if you're sort of struggling to understand what that is, look at the previous video where we sort of spoke about what the purpose of it was. But here we're just going to take an example, and we're going to say on May the 1st, a business converted its single entry accounting system to a double entry system with the following items, memo 1, 2, 3. And we've got bank, loan, accounts receivable, GST clearing, vehicle, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and inventory. So we've got a bunch of items there. First thing we should always do is look at the two items that could either be an asset or a liability, and that would be bank and GST clearing. So bank can be an asset, in which case it would have a debit balance like it does here. However, it could also be a liability. It would be a bank overdraft. However, the name would still be bank. It would just say credit here, so always look out for that. Then we've got GST clearing, which we can have a liability or an asset for a GST clearing. It just depends on the balance. Now, in this case, it's a credit balance, so that's going to be a liability. And the reason why that's important is what we're doing with this commencing entry, we're commencing a double entry system, is we're going to basically, you don't have to do it in this order, but I'm going to do all the debits first. In other words, all the assets. We're creating ledgers for all these items. So I'm just going to do the debits first and then the credits. You don't have to do that. But that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start here on the debit side. The first one was a bank ledger. I've now got a ledger for bank. Then I went to accounts receivable D putty. I did a debit. I did a debit for vehicle, a debit for account receivable E Costanza, and a debit for the inventory ledger. And now what I'm going to do is go back through and do these credits. These will be liabilities. So I've got the loan to high finance, the loan to GST clearing, and the loan to accounts payable. Now, like I said, you don't have to do all the debits first and then the credits, but the reason I am going to do it is it's going to make it sort of a bit easier for me to see that I've actually got a problem. All my debits, which are 116,600, don't equal all of my credits, which are 57,100. So I've got a problem. And obviously I'm missing some credits. And what I'm missing is that these are all assets here in purple, and these are all liabilities in blue. Well, the difference would be what we call my capital, my owner's equity. So I need to create a ledger for capital for the difference. And in this case, that'll be 59,500. And now my debits do equal my credits. So the last thing I've got to do is my narration. Commencement of double entry system, memo 1, 2, 3. And that's it, we're done, that's everything. That's that entry is completed. However, maybe just to sort of process it and go, well, what just happened? What was the purpose of this commencing entry? What has it done? Well, what it did was it took me from this single entry accounting system where transactions occurred, I recorded them in journals, then I made my financial reports. That's what we did in year 11. And it's taken us to a double entry system where we still got transactions occur. That's the same. We're still going to record it in journals. We're just doing the general journal this year, but it doesn't matter. It's the same sort of thing, still recording in journals. But we can see before we prepare financial reports in double entry, we're going to record things in ledgers. And to do that, we needed to create what was called the general ledger. And it's got all these T accounts in it. So basically what we just did was with this entry here was we made a big thing called the general ledger. And each entry here created a ledger in the general ledger. So we had a bank ledger, accounts receivable D putty. We had vehicle, accounts receivable E Costanza, inventory. So they were all our debits. And then we had our credits. We created a ledger for the loan, GST clearing, accounts payable, and capital. And that's it. That's what we did. We just made this box here called a general ledger with all these ledgers, and our debits equaled our credits. And that was the point of this commencing entry. We now have a double entry accounting system.